Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Hunting Matters, brought to you by the Houston Safari Club Foundation. We really appreciate you guys joining us again. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and review the podcast and share it with your friends and family. We'd really appreciate that. Joining us today is someone I've known for several years, Vickie McMillan-Hayes. She is Vickie, this title that I'm going to give you doesn't really encapsulate everything you do and who you are, but you're a wildlife. I say you're a wildlife conservation artist, but we're going to learn a lot more about you today over the next hour. And thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I love the Houston Safari Club.
Appreciate it. So you're dialing in from home today, I guess.
I am here in Galveston, Texas.
Do you have your studio at home or do you have it at a remote location?
I do.
Oh, you do? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's nice. Get up, get a coffee, go to work.
Oh, I know. I just go downstairs and enjoy it.
That's awesome.
I've got these tall windows and it's just beautiful. Get to go in the beach and enjoy it.
That's amazing. I'm curious, Galveston, Galveston's been around a long time. What's going on down there in Galveston? Are you guys seeing a growth down there, or is it just mostly during tourist season, or what's happening down in Galveston?
Yeah, I mean, Galveston is amazing. I have really enjoyed being here. The wildlife is amazing. The fish, I've gotten really involved with fishing down here and just watching the sunsets. And my boy's got a boat, and so it's just amazing. But as far as people down here, you definitely see a lot more during the summer, but I typically really enjoy when it's the fall and winter because there's not as many people here and I can walk on the beach. It doesn't matter. There's hardly anybody.
Yeah.
And I've really enjoyed it.
So you fish now, or have you always fished?
Well, my parents actually had a house in Matagorda Bay growing up. So I think that is where I fell in love with the water and fish and the wildlife down in this region. And they sold it not too long ago. And then I just really wanted to move down here about 2 years ago, just to enjoy the water and the fish, and the wildlife down here is amazing. The people are amazing. There's a lot of art down here.
Yeah.
And the Bryan Museum, I don't know if you're familiar with that. Mm-hmm. It's has a lot of wildlife. It has a lot of cowboy Western theme. If you've not been down here to this museum, it's just really amazing.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. It sounds like it's right up my alley.
The Houston Safari Club Foundation's Worldwide Hunting Expo and Convention is back. January 23rd to the 25th at the Woodlands Waterway Marriott. Explore worldwide hunting and fishing outfitters, gear, auctions, raffles, and banquets. $20 at the door, kids under 15, military and first responders free with ID. Learn more at WeHuntWeGive.org. Sponsored by Boyd's Gun Stocks, Capital Farm Credit, Copandero, DEA Ranch, Dex Imaging, Genus Logistics, Gunworks Revic, and Wildlife Partners.
Talking about beach stuff, something that I have friends that don't live in Texas, and they're like, oh yeah, you tell them, they're like, yeah, there's certain stretches where you can go and there's deer on the beach and there's coyotes on the beach and all that sort of thing.
There are.
It's pretty amazing. I think it's pretty unique when you see them on the beach, especially around, down around the King Ranch area as well. But, do you, when you're looking or walking the beach by yourself and you're seeing these things, are you capturing them in your mind for future use?
I am. I'm actually going to do a series on some of the wolves. Well, they're coyotes, and they've got a red wolf in them. It's a very rare breed down here, and I don't know enough about them to really talk about it. But I am going to be really getting to know these animals and put them in their habitat and paint them. I just finished a series here that's it's actually at the Bryan Museum, and it's the cattle drive. And they used to actually push the cattle from one bay to the next whenever they were winterizing. And so I've got a couple of cattle drives where they're actually going through the water, and then another one is the cattle drive along the Galveston beach.
Yeah.
And we used to do that a lot down here to get rid of the black flies. And they would go and have them soak down in that water, and then they would have them go back up. So I'm learning a lot about Texas and our history down here. It's just really rich with history. And I'm realizing that the meat down here for the cattle, people love to eat the meat down here because of the salt that they eat. It tenderizes the meat. And so it's a really great beef to eat.
That's crazy. I didn't even think about that. That's pretty crazy. Your meat comes tenderized and almost kind of pre-seasoned, I guess.
Yeah, it does.
That's amazing. Let's go back.
Yeah.
Let's go back a way. So you spent years capturing wildlife and Western landscapes and all those sorts of things. What first drove you to painting animals in the natural world?
You know, I really did not like animals in painting because I did not study or see some artists that I really enjoyed and appreciated. I thought it was really tacky, and so I never really wanted to paint
Mm,
wildlife. But it began when I did mission trips in Africa, and I spent about 5 summers in Africa and did a lot of mission work then and photographed and began to paint the animals and come back to my studio and paint the animals and just really fell in love with the animals there. Who couldn't? Who
yeah,
wouldn't?
right. It's
So
always
that,
amazing to me not being a painter, or somebody who's gifted with that talent of painting or drawing or that sort of thing. It always amazes me the overall talent and the skill and the beauty of what you create, but also the attention to detail and the ability to capture that from your mind's eye, from your
mm,
your life experiences. I just I don't think I'd ever have the patience for it. And I've been told, it's therapeutic. Sometimes people go, Joe, maybe you should take up painting, and wind down a little
it
bit.
is
But
therapeutic.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
do you when
But
you
when it's a full-time job, it's different.
yeah.
You get up, I paint 7 to 10 hour days,
Mm.
and you get up and you paint whether you're sick or not, whether you're in the mood to paint or not, you're inspired or not.
I
You
guess
just do
it's
it.
I guess it's somewhat like writing. Some days you feel like it, some
Hmm.
days you don't.
Hmm.
Um, is there? I'd love to learn more about your process. It is how do you start with a concept or an idea? I know sometimes it's wildlife, sometimes it's Western
Yeah.
landscape, different subject matter. But how does it start? You get up one day and you're like, okay, I need to start a new painting. What does that look like?
Sometimes it has to do with a museum that's expecting a certain
Okay.
subject matter. So I have to go down that path. But if a client comes to me and says, I want 5 paintings, for example, this is what one of my clients did. He has a trophy room and he wanted 5 large paintings of the big five.
Hmm.
And he gave me the artistic ability to create what I wanted to because he liked my style. So I would come up with some concepts on paper, some ideas, and then I would present it to him. And if he liked the idea, then I would go down the path of starting sketches and drawings, and then I'd be inspired by that. I do a lot of research prior to a sketch, or for example, a rhino painting that I did, and he wanted 3 rhinos running through the vegetation and the habitat, but fires around,
Mm.
like they're escaping the fires of Africa, because you know how it is in Africa,
Hmm.
they pop up all over the place, so it's a typical thing for that to see. um, so inspiration, I literally have to sit there and pray a lot. I sit there and go, okay, Lord, I need help. I need you to show me what I need to do, and then I will do research, and then something will spark my creativity, my inspiration, and then I jump off from there. And
Yeah.
sometimes it works really, really smoothly, and sometimes I have to work really hard at it. It's hard to explain, but I think the more that I paint and the more you're in the studio, the more it flows easier.
Capital Farm Credit understands that there's something about the outdoors that pulls you in. Could be the fresh air, the colors, the smells, the animals, the freedom. It's all just a part of who you are. And with our recreational land loans, you can purchase land for whatever outdoor pursuit you please. That way, the outdoors won't just be in your soul, it'll also be in your name. To learn more, visit capitalfarmcredit.com. Together, we're better.
Yeah. If I walked up, stood at a blank canvas, get up at 8 o'clock in the morning or go there at 10 o'clock at night, I would be like,
Uh-huh.
I'll just make tic-tac-toe marks or whatever. I can't imagine. I can imagine that can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you're doing something for a client, they've already got something in their head
Hmm.
and you're trying to pull it out of them. because you are creating something that is in their head, and it's not always we're not always able to connect, but I try and connect with my client as much as possible, and I will work at the project until they are 100% pleased.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of person I am as an artist.
Well, God bless you, because I know it's not hard to please people, especially if they've got a
There's
vision.
a few.
Especially if they've got a vision in their mind's eye, and you're like, trying to tell me more. I got to get it out of you so I can get it on, on canvas. Did you grow up painting? Is this something?
I did.
Okay. So did you go to art school, or?
I did go to art school,
Okay.
but I can back up a little bit further. My mom and dad got me into some YMCA class when I was like 5 years old, 6 years old. And this teacher said, you need to get this kid in some art classes. So they really were inspirational in cultivating my skills, and they would put me in art classes. But I think that you can develop a desire for painting and get the skills down to be able to paint something. But I think that there's a point where it's just inside of you. And like for me, if I don't paint, I cannot not paint. I have to paint. And so just getting, going back to my parents, they would take me camping. They would take me places that they let me be exposed to art. And then I went to art college. But what I do today is not what I did then. I think I think it's a way of experimenting with different mediums and finding out who you are a little bit. But who I am today was just because I spent time behind the canvas, working out my problems day in and day out.
Yeah. So kind of early on, it was kind of the mechanics and getting all this exposure to different things, and then you kind of formed who you are based on your own style and your own desires, and that's pretty cool. Hunting Matters is presented by Copandero Indoor Archery Pistol and Rifle Range, your premier indoor archery pistol and rifle shooting destination. Located in Oak Ridge North, right next to the Woodlands, Copandero offers 2 25-yard pistol ranges, a 100-yard rifle range, and a 25-yard archery range. Whether you're honing your skills or just starting, Copandero has everything you need, including rentals, classes, a retail store, an in-house cafe, and a VIP lounge. Join Copandero today for an unmatched shooting experience. To learn more, go to copandero.com. Do you, now I know you interact with a lot of artists from all over the world. Do you find, and I don't even know if this is a valid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you feel like people from certain parts of the world, certain parts of the country are influenced by where they grew up? And I ask that because I'm like, do you think Texas and growing up in Texas influences how you paint and how you see things?
Yeah, I can actually tell when I go to North Carolina and I'm doing a series of paintings, I'm affected by the colors, by the atmosphere, the greenery. Somehow those colors start to come into my paintings, even if I'm painting something that is not as green, I would say. But if I'm down here at the coast, then those colors really do affect me. Or if I'm in West Texas, so I'm painting in Big Bend, with the brown tones and just the land, it does affect you. Yeah.
I asked because growing up, even as a kid, there was an artist in Northeast Louisiana where I grew up. His name was Gore. Last name was Gore, and his first name just left me. Anyway, I have a couple of his pen. He was a pen and ink guy, and he doesn't do it commercially anymore. In fact, I think most of his work now he donates for fundraisers for the Washita River Authority. Glenn Gore, that's his name. And I fell in love with his stuff. And I don't know why, even as a kid, I begged my mom to get me some of his stuff. And we were, we were lower middle class, if that. And so she saved up money and got me a couple of his pen and inks. And I still have them hanging in my office now. But I look at that, and it's pictures of, it reminds me of my childhood because it's one is of a Labrador chasing a duck across the water. Another one is a beagle chasing a rabbit into the woods, things that I saw growing up in Louisiana, and it brings me back home. But I see Louisiana in that style. So that's,
it does.
Yeah. It's very, very cool. So you painted wildlife, like you said, you spent all that time in Africa. You painted wildlife from all over the world. Your African work is amazing. It really stands out. What was it like living and studying animals over there?
I really wished I could go there all the time. I mean, I miss it.
Mm,
What was it like?
yeah.
I think I did a lot of photography, a lot of sketches, a lot of plein air painting. And plein air painting is where you sit out and you capture a painting within an hour, hour and a half, and you're studying the light, you're studying the colors, you're studying the mood, because you can't paint past an hour and a half because the light changes so much.
No.
So I would do a lot of plein air studies and drawings of the animals. And then it was hard to paint big paintings over there. So I would come back to my studio here in the United States and then paint from there. And it's just breathtaking.
Mm.
Yeah.
So describe what it was like the first time you went. I got to imagine you were kind of nervous
Wow.
going over there for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you hear all these stories, but it's nothing like that. It's just breathtaking. I've been to South Africa, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Malawi. Yeah, I've been, and every one of those places different. You would think that they're all the same. Like a lot of people thought, I thought they would be just jungle, and it's not. And then I thought, why is it winter here and summer I just left Texas and it's summer? You know, you just don't think about those things. Or even the constellation is different.
Mm.
You see different stars than you do over here. Everything's different.
Yeah.
And the food's different.
Right, right. Are you looking for an investment that goes beyond the ordinary? Wildlife Partners is the nation's leader in breeding and consulting for the exotic wildlife industry. When you invest in wildlife, you're not just acquiring a 100% tax-deductible asset, you're playing a vital role in the conservation of endangered species. Do you own land? You can turn your ranch into a profitable wildlife-driven business. And even if you don't own land, that's no problem. Wildlife Partners offers unique opportunities for non-landowners to invest in conservation while enjoying significant tax benefits and potential cash flow. Right. I mean, but were you like, okay, I'm going to make this big leap of faith and I'm going to go to Africa the first time? I mean, are you sitting there going, I don't know if I can do this. What am I doing? You know, I'm
Yeah.
guessing it was a little, for me, it would be intimidating. I'm going to go over there and do something I've never done before, and it's going to possibly affect my livelihood moving down down the road. I'm sure it was kind of, at first it was kind of like, oh, or did you just go, I'm just going to go do this because I want to do
Well,
it?
my husband at the time had gone quite a few times.
Okay.
So I could rely on his expertise and what he's experienced already. And he prepared me. And yes, it is intimidating.
Mm.
Even the flight over there is what, 24 hours,
Yeah.
28 hours, something like that.
Yep.
I mean, it's a lot. And then we brought our kids.
Yeah.
And they
Oh,
were young.
oh,
And
wow.
so they got to explore Africa for a summer. It made friends there. And we lived on a game preserve where all the big five are. And we would walk out there. We would hike, and it was
Yeah.
just amazing.
Yeah, that's a long flight. My wife has always said if you can have 3 meals on a flight, you've been on the airplane too long.
Way too long.
Yeah, I'll take out the expletives. But
I just want 2 extra seats, one on each side so I can lay down.
yeah, exactly. Let's talk a little bit about maybe something that people know or maybe they don't know about you. It's obviously on your website. You've been very public about it. So you have dealt with a condition called essential tremors since you were what, 16?
Yes, 16 years old.
So for our viewing and listening audience, what is that? What are the challenges of it, and how does
Sure.
it affect your painting style?
So at age 16, I noticed that when I held a cup, it would shake. And then I started accommodating where I wouldn't do certain things so that people wouldn't notice. But it got to a point where it was really bothersome, and it almost actually terrified me. I thought, do I have Parkinson's or something?
Yeah.
So I went and got tested, and he goes, you don't have Parkinson's, but you have the opposite of the Parkinson's, which is essential tremors, meaning that you shake when you're using your muscle. And with Parkinson's, you shake all the time, even when you're sleeping. And it's also can affect your brain. Essential tremors does not affect your brain, but Some essential tremors are progressive. Mine's progressive. They've been wanting to do some brain surgery on me, but it's very limited in what they can control. Like if they put a stem in your brain, then it'll only affect one side of your limbs instead of both sides, because I'm affected on both my hands, both my legs. Even when I talk a long time, my vocal cords will start to tremor. My eyes will. So it's just all my muscles.
Okay.
But when I paint, I've had to learn how to hold my breath and brace my hand and then hold it to do very small, detailed strokes. But I adopted, I guess you would say, a style that's more impressionistic and a bit abstract in the backgrounds. And so I build and build and build, because it helps me to not hold my breath and have to do all the details so much. It helps me to build and use my tremors. It basically doesn't show as much when you're doing a lot of impasto or impressionistic backgrounds and everything.
Yeah, it's more of the fine detail work. Okay.
Hunting Matters is presented by DEA Ranch. Are you looking for the ultimate South Texas hunting experience? Then look no further than DEA Ranch. DEA Ranch offers some of the best whitetail and exotic game hunts in South Texas year-round. Whether you're looking to fill your freezer or put that next hunting memory on the wall, their professional guides are focused on ensuring each client has a memorable and exciting hunting experience. DEA Ranch offers guided hunts, professional staff, chef-prepared meals, trophy preparation, and more. To learn more, go to dearanch.com. That's dearanch.com.
And I'm guessing you've managed this so long that it's kind of like, you don't even think about it. You're just like, this is who I am. This is what I do. I'm going to hold my breath when I need to. And it's just become a part of you.
Yeah. And it is progressive. And I can tell over the years, the older I get, it does affect me more. I love gardening, but I know that I can't go out and garden. And then if I have a painting due, it takes me about 12 hours to recover just from gardening outside.
Really?
So I have to make choices to be able to do what I do. And it's something that I could use to talk to people and encourage people that have disabilities and overcoming them. And instead of like stopping and what your passion is, for example, mine's painting, embracing that, finding a different path, a different avenue to be able to do what you want to do. You don't have to necessarily stop. It's just figuring out a different path and embracing that disability. And I really feel like my style comes from the disability. And there's another thing that I deal with is ADHD. And it actually is a benefit to my painting, because a lot of artists will start in one spot, and they'll finish that spot and they move on out and the piece is finished, which I don't even understand how they do that. I have to paint all over the place. I mean, it's like a little color here and a little color here, put it here. And actually it works, because that creates cohesion, because you want all of the colors to reflect and refract and move throughout the piece. So it actually works for me.
So you're painting. So I'm pretty sure
it's a dance.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have some level of ADHD, or I've been told. But we had a son who really dealt with it. Of course, he's grown up and gone to do quite well with the U.S. Navy. But we used to always, we make jokes about him. He like tell him, I need you to go here and here. You couldn't tell him to go do something. You had to tell him everything he was supposed to do, step by step. And so I call your painting technique, based on what we used to say about him, is look at the butterflies, and he's
exactly
all over the place.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
I just finished a large 20-foot by 30-foot piece for Bryan Museum, and it was on the 1900 storm. And because it was so large, everyone saw from the very beginning of my process, and it's a bit like you're feeling a bit naked in a way, because they're seeing the skeleton of everything, and everything builds on another thing and another thing, and it builds on another thing. And some people are going, is that going to stay there? Why is that there? Why is that color there? Are you going to ever finish the sky? Are you going to ever finish this? And I'm like, just be patient. Right. It'll all come together.
Right. It's kind of rude though, if you think about it. Like, just take a breath.
No, they're just curious about, like, why is this here?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like playing chess with them. You're already you're
Exactly.
already 10 steps ahead. You know where it's
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
end.
yeah,
That's got to
yeah.
be kind of, you kind of have to laugh to yourself sometimes when that
Oh, I
happens.
do.
Yeah. Nobody wants to imagine an emergency on a hunting trip, but when the unexpected happens, you want the team of medical and security experts at Global Rescue to be there for you. Global Rescue Operations Centers are staffed by experienced personnel, and you'll always speak to an expert on the first call. Global Rescue provides unparalleled capabilities to transport members to the hospital of their choice, not just the closest. So trade what ifs for peace of mind with convenient travel services designed for the unexpected. Learn more at globalrescue.com/hunting matters. So not being a painter and artist in that vein, how do you know when to stop? How do you go? How do you know to
Oh,
step back and you go, I'm done?
well, you can't overwork a painting or it looks stiff.
Okay.
Um, there's a it's like when you get to it's an emotion that I'm trying to capture, and if I can get to that stage of that emotion and I'm capturing that, then I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. And how do you know when to stop?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the more that I paint, I realize the fewer strokes that I make to tell the story, the better. Because it's like when you have too much information, there's not enough room for the brain to figure something out on their own.
Right.
So I try and tell the story with a few amount of strokes as possible.
You know, it's amazing. I'm glad we're having this conversation because I had no insight into the process of an artist, and I do a little writing personally on the side, and it's oddly similar how you're
Yeah.
talking about that, because when I first started writing some fiction things, the editors and things were like, people don't care about all this stuff. And in my mind,
Yeah.
I'm going, it'd be cool. I'm going to tell all this big background
Yeah.
story and all this stuff. And they're like, they don't want that. They don't. And,
Yeah.
and I had to step back and go, well, this is my baby, but these are the experts. And so then I kind of went, I told them, I said, I'm not married to anything. This is a learning process for me, but it's the similarities are very, very, oddly matched in that, sometimes less is more, as long as you can get the viewer in your case, or the whoever's appreciating your art. The same thing with somebody who's reading your work. It's like you don't have to do all this fluffy stuff to get to the story, get to the meat of what somebody really wants to consume. So that's kind of cool.
In the heart of nature, give your deer the nutrition they deserve with Record Rack Deer Feeds. The premium feeds support antler growth and overall herd health. Whether you're a wildlife enthusiast or a dedicated hunter, Record Rack Deer Feeds provide essential nutrients for a thriving herd. Choose Record Rack Deer Feeds for optimal deer nutrition. Visit recordrack.com to learn more.
I didn't realize that.
Well,
about
jumping off on what you just said, oftentimes people will come to my booth or watch me paint, and they're looking at some of my paintings, interested in buying something, and they will ask me questions. Well, how were you inspired by this, or where were you, or what's your intention? And I ask them, what do you see in it? What does it remind you? What place does it remind you of? Because really, people buy art because they're attracted to it, or it reminds them of some place they've been. It's their story. So you want to connect the art to their story, just the same as you're writing. You want them to get involved, to disappear into the book, because it reminds them, it takes them to a place that they were in their past, or it reminds them of something.
Very much like music.
Very much like music.
Where you remember some songs when you were in high school or whatever, and that takes you back. And yeah, I can see that. It's the same thing with those paintings I was talking about from the pen and inks I was talking about from Louisiana. I automatically go to childhood, grandfather, uncle, who were all involved in that hunting world when I was growing up. That's so cool, how we're all connected to our past through different mediums. It's really cool. So your
very
art,
similar.
yeah, I'm getting educated here. Are you looking for a smarter way to manage your document imaging and print environment? Dex Imaging delivers industry-leading printers, copiers, and fully managed print services designed to cut costs, boost productivity, and simplify your workflow. Whether you're a small business or a Fortune 500 company, Dex provides personalized local service with the power of a national network so you get fast, reliable support wherever you are. Dex gives back, proudly supporting organizations like Houston Safari Club Foundation by giving through profit sharing. Dex Imaging, smarter technology, exceptional service, proven results. Visit deximaging.com or email Adam Montgomery at adam.montgomery@deximaging.com. So your art, I mean, you do a fantastic job of bridging wildlife and culture and the Western tradition. How do you approach blending those worlds on a single canvas? I mean, do you blend those worlds, or are you like, okay, I'm going to go down this vein, this project line next, or do you blend them, or what's that like?
It's been tough lately because a lot of my clients that come from Houston Safari Club or SCI or Dallas Safari Club, they're like, okay, you haven't been here in a while, and I haven't seen some of your wildlife from Africa. Well, about 8 or 9 years ago, a lot of my clients came to me and said, I have trophy rooms, I have houses that have North American work. Why don't you paint some North American work? And so I started doing that, and then I started getting invited to shows that here in the United States, and then museums and galleries that specifically want North American work. So I love African work, you know, the animals and stuff there. Yeah. So I do still paint African animals. However, it seems to be more clients that come to me and want specific things. But you were asking the question of how do you blend those two together? You can't blend an African scene with North American habitat.
No brown pelicans on top of rhinos? No?
Yeah, you can't do it unless you're going to be a cartoonist. So you know, one thing I do teach is that you have to know your subject matter. Whenever I'm teaching with kids or adults, you can't put a certain vegetation that you would not see with a lion. However, Texas, as you know, it looks just like Africa in so many places. But it is a challenge for me because I have so much I want to paint, and I have not enough time to do it.
Yeah. Art and
I hope that answered your question.
No, it did. Then I've had like my ADHD kicked in. I have like 10 other questions that I wasn't even planning on. When you look at the relationship between art and wildlife conservation, I know you do a lot to give back to conservation, whether it's donating some of your work or speaking about wildlife, or just the fact that you put it into a visible format that people can see. How do you see that relationship between art and wildlife conservation, and what role do you think artists can play in conservation?
Well, I think it's extremely important. Let me give you just an example. Let me ask you a question, just from your experience growing up. When you think of Noah's Ark, how many animals went in the ark?
Oh gosh, I have no clue, but I can visualize them walking in.
Was it 4x4 or 2x2?
2x2.
Okay, so when you read the Bible, it actually says it's 2 of unclean, 7 clean, meaning like a clean animals. The Jewish culture would distinguish certain animals being clean and certain animals being unclean. So an artist, we grew up seeing Bible stories only 2x2x2, all animals. We have a responsibility as an artist to articulate truth. Another example is Durer. He actually did pen and ink drawings, and because most people in Europe had never seen a rhino, he had never himself seen a rhino, so he actually did a rhino with almost looking like it was made out of metal with rivets when it was created on this drawing for this pen and ink drawing. So for hundreds of years, they thought that the rhino looked this specific way. And so what I'm trying to tell you is it is our responsibility as an artist to articulate through paint or through whatever subject, whatever medium they use, to our public, the species that's maybe going extinct, what waters are disappearing, what animals are disappearing, and putting them in the correct habitat and the situation that's occurring.
Yeah.
I think we have a huge responsibility of teaching about wildlife and their habitat and how important it is to keep certain grasslands a certain way. I went to Big Bend and Big Bend National Park, and they have a huge influx of introducing the bighorn sheep because it's been they've been taken out. I don't know exactly all of the reasons why. I think I don't know, it was hunted out. I'm not sure about all the history with that, but I was learning how Houston Safari Club and other organizations have been helping and reintroduce into the Big Bend State Park, which is called the Ranch. And so I want to do a series of the bighorn sheep being introduced back into the park. Well, I can take that information and teach whenever I'm selling prints, selling the painting, teaching about it when I'm doing lectures. I just did a lecture at the Bryan Museum, and people really walk away going, I did not realize that. I didn't realize the importance of Houston Safari Club. For example, if you didn't have hunters, you would not have animals.
Right.
Because hunters help pay for the safety and protection of animals.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things I teach. I'm able to teach that in schools too, the importance of hunting. For example, I asked them, what would happen if everybody went and hunted deer throughout Texas and we could shoot as much as we wanted to? What would happen? And they would give example, or they would give their answers. And then I would say, okay, what would happen if we never hunted? What would happen? It'd be overgrazed, overpopulated. They'd be very small. They'd be diseased animals. Then they'd die. So then I'd go to crabbing, and then I go to fish. So it's a great crossover when I'm showing paintings of animals that I'm painting, then I could teach about it.
Yeah. No, I never thought of that. I mean, that's, you're walking into in a non-confrontational way with your artwork.
Exactly.
And then it's like, oh, by the way, there's some other messages here that I need to share with you.
And you know what? I'm able to talk about that in schools because it is important.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Gunworks just launched a new rifle system. It's called Index. It's sized for adventure and engineered for extremes. With barrel lengths as short as 16 inches and a folding stock that collapses to an ultra-short profile, the Gunworks Index fits nicely in a UTV, a float plane, or across the seat of your truck without sacrificing accuracy. The Index features a built-in ARCA and pick rail for use on tripod or bipod, and a night vision rail to ensure you're ready for any scenario. The Gunworks Index delivers magnum capability in the most compact chassis rifle system on the market. Visit gunworks.com to learn more.
Have you ever been commissioned to do a work for a conservation effort? As far as fundraising, I know you've done stuff that you've donated to our organization.
Well, the Houston Safari Club.
Yeah.
They would ask me for certain things. Well, I mean, I feel like that every time I'm in a museum, I'm trying to go down that vein.
Right.
For example, I specifically chose for this one show in Galveston to talk about what's the lost cowboys of Galveston and the coastal cowboys and what we used to do down here. And it's a couple of paintings of art of conservation in a unique way.
Yeah. I got to keep going back to what you were just saying about the fact that you have an opportunity to educate people, not only show them your work, but then educate them on so many other topics, and it's cool that you're still learning too.
all the
about
time.
the sheep program in Texas, and like you said before, the cattle grazing operations and things like
or
that.
the coyotes out here.
The coyotes, I guarantee you, 99.9% of people in Texas don't know there's coyotes on the beach.
No,
nor do
I
they,
didn't until this last year.
and nor do they know there's a red wolf genetic line running through them as well.
I know.
That's very cool. So you've exhibited a lot of prestigious institutions and facilities: the Briscoe Western Art Museum, the C.M. Russell Show. What exhibition or moment in your career really stands out the most to you, and why? Along that line of thought. And I'm not asking you to pat yourself on the back, but there's got to be some time when you kind of walked in or you're part of something, you got to pinch yourself. I can't believe it.
When you have a sellout,
Uh-huh.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
I've had this last couple of years, I've had a lot of sellouts at the Museum of Western Art in Kerrville. This last year I sold out. And then I had sold out at Cowgirl Up.
Yeah.
Not last year, but the year before that. And that, just spurs things on. And then you get more buyers. It's so funny how some people buy because other people are buying. So it does help with that. Just different. And then I had a show at the Trappings at Big Bend Museum, and I sold out there. So it's, I think every place is very unique and special.
Mm-hmm.
You meet different clients and different people who are like, did you know about this? Did you not know about this animal? And what's going on with this species? So, I don't have one thing that stands out. I think that every year there's something special that I go, wow, that was just so really fun and cool.
Yeah.
For example, the Bryan Museum right now, just finishing this 20-foot by almost 30-foot piece. And, the publicity of that, there was over 200 people that came out for the unveiling of it. And it's just really neat.
That's cool. Is that a ladder painting? I mean, are you like hanging on trapezes or what to paint a piece that big?
It is scaffolding.
Oh, scaffolding.
Mm-hmm.
Duh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get a lot of exercise going up and down and up and down and up and down.
I bet. I bet.
Hunting Matters is sponsored by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Under the visionary leadership of founder Johnny Morris, Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's is leading North America's largest conservation movement. Together with their partners in conservation, they're positively shaping the future of the outdoors through donations, grant making, and advocacy. The 501c3 Outdoor Fund raises funds to support conservation efforts by activating more than 200 million passionate sportsmen and women, rounding up their purchases in Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's stores and online. Visit BassPro.com or Cabela's.com today.
So I'm going to brag on you a little bit. You had one of your works was selected for the U.S. Department of State's Art and Embassies program.
Yes.
Tell me about that. That's pretty cool.
So it was a few years back, and I got this the weirdest phone call, because you know how you get people calling and saying they want to buy something and they're just trying to steal your money, or steal your piece of art. So this person called me, and I had signed up to be in this program, but I didn't have any phone calls for years. And all of a sudden someone called me and said that this person gets to choose what art goes into this specific embassy, and he likes your work and would like to have your work there. And I gave them the 50,000 questions, because I thought they were they were going to come get my art, and they were going to take my art and I'd never see it again. But sure enough, it was all real.
Yeah.
So it was shipped over there for like 4 years.
Oh.
And it came back, and I enjoyed it for a while. Now it's up for sale again. I held on to it for a while. Now it's actually at the Gage Hotel V6 Gallery. It's a Waterbuck there.
That's cool. That's cool.
Very nice big piece.
I'm guessing that since your work is so personal to you, that you have to, I can see why you were saying like, is this a real phone call? I guess you have to really be guarded because it's from you, it's part of you. Listen, unfortunately, there's people out there in the world, they're always trying to make a quick buck or take advantage of other people. I guess you're fiercely protective of your work.
Well, I want it to go to the right person.
Uh-huh.
And I've learned questions to ask. There's not if you're asking, like, is there any pieces that you don't want to sell that you're so connected to?
Yeah.
I would say there's maybe two, and it would be something like a plein air painting that I created in an hour and a half, and it just brought so much memory back from my childhood or whatever it was that I want to enjoy that piece. To me, I get more joy about somebody buying my painting, enjoying it, and putting it in their home. Um, I have no problem selling the piece and letting it go.
Mm.
However, guarding, knowing that they're a real client, yeah, I've got some steps I go through. I don't just ship a painting out. I demand like 50% up front,
Right.
you know, all those things.
Yeah. I guess that, you know, it's kind of like you're hunting your journey as a hunter. You know, I used to be like, oh, I want to go out and shoot the biggest whatever I was hunting. And now it's kind of like, I'll just sit in a blind for days and not shoot anything. Or I get more joy out of
Mhm.
taking somebody on their first turkey hunt or something like that. I'm guessing as you have, you know, gone through your career, it's your priorities and focus shift a little bit as far as wanting to be more of an educator and still doing
Yeah.
great work, but educator and I don't know. I've never
Mhm.
bred dogs, but you know, I know dog breeders like, oh, yeah, we had a litter of puppies. I got rid of those things in like 2 weeks. And I'd be like, I couldn't get rid of them because I love puppies. So I don't, you know, I'm sure that
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to let those babies go that you
Yeah.
spent so much time
But
on.
you know what's great about my art is I can make a print.
True. Yeah.
So if I really want something to enjoy a little bit longer, then I can do that, and
Mm.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I think the test is really how much of your artwork do you not have, which I have hardly any inventory right now, which is really great. It's
Th-
great to have.
Yeah. That's good. That's an awesome problem to have.
Yeah, I'm behind. I'm booked till next summer.
Good. That's awesome.
Mhm.
That's awesome. So we talked a little bit about, you know, looking at a blank canvas and where you start. I'm kind of
Mhm.
curious to kind of dig a little bit deeper into that. Is it the vision? Is it the emotion? Is it the research? What comes first usually for you?
Something will inspire me, like a certain lighting, maybe, or a feeling that I'm trying to convey.
Hmm.
Um, I think emotion. If you can't get the emotion down before you do all your research, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. That
It's kind
makes
of like
sense.
starting a story. Like you're a writer, right?
Yep.
So you've got a theme or you're doing a novel on science fiction.
Mm.
You know, it's not real. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just throwing it out there,
Sure.
but
But you
it's
got to
an
know you got to
emotion.
know what you're talking about. Just like I guess you
Yeah,
got to know what you're painting.
yeah,
You know, you
yeah.
got to know, like you said earlier. You know, you can't put dandelions in, you know, in behind in the
Uh-huh.
water or something like that. People are gonna go, that's not authentic, you know, and they'll pick it out in
Yeah.
a heartbeat. Um, so
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I think that a topic that I'd like to share
Mhm.
is we live in a generation that is immediate gratification,
Yes.
where you can go to Target, you can go anywhere and get a print of something. Um,
Or AI
we're
now.
losing for example, holding a book
Yeah.
and smelling that book and the
Right.
pages. We're losing the appreciation of a real piece of art hanging on your wall and enjoying the thickness of the paint and how much time it took for someone to create a piece.
Mhm.
So I think it's also the responsibility of the artists of this generation to still cultivate in the next generation appreciation for real art, not AI generated art or art that's just a print.
Right.
Um, and yes, it is a little bit more money, but it's something fine. It's like fine wine. It's a
Hmm.
fine cigar. It, it's a fine piece of jewelry. Sometimes in life, it's okay to and buy something that makes you feel special and you can enjoy a real piece of art.
Hmm. The Houston Safari Club Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports the future of hunting and conservation. Wildlife and habitat conservation, youth education and outdoor experiences, scholarships, and anti-poaching efforts are just a few of the programs supported by this organization. Monthly events, an annual convention, award-winning publications, networking opportunities, and valuable resources for hunting knowledge are just a few of the benefits of being a member of Houston Safari Club Foundation. If you're searching for a group of people dedicated to protecting the future of hunting, look no further. Join Houston Safari Club Foundation today at wehuntwegive.org or call 713-623-8844. Yeah, that makes absolute sense. So if when somebody's standing in front of your pieces and they first stand in front of it, what is it that you hope someone feels or experiences about that piece? I know every piece is not going to connect with every person, but what is it that what's your hope of somebody who does connect with art, one of your pieces of art?
Well, let me tell you a story.
Okay.
I was at the Broadmoor Gallery this summer and I was painting and showing some of my art, and I had a big longhorn piece, and it was bright and cheerful and colorful. And this one lady came up and wanted to know a little bit about the painting because it really connected with her. She just stopped in her tracks and just stared at it. And I was like, just like I said earlier, is I asked the question, what is it that's connected you to the piece? Why are you standing here looking at this? Why do you like this piece? And she said, well, it reminds me of my husband. My husband is going through a difficult time right now. He used to go to Mystic Camp where all the kids had passed away recently. And he's mourning the death of some people, and he's really hurting. And he went to UT. We live in California. I know this would remind him of home. And I said to her, well, this is something interesting. I was actually painting this painting in Kerrville, and which is where the floods had occurred.
Right.
She just started bawling, just crying. And there's a connection that I didn't even know that would even have occurred, but she ended up buying the painting and giving it to her husband. And it was a healing for him, the painting, and they hung it in a prominent place. So that's an example of what I wish that someone would connect to the piece. Not that it'd be like, oh, that's a great big piece of decor for this room. I want them to go, this is exactly what I want to, where I want to go, where I want to be, or this reminds me of this place that I've been.
That's so cool that the planets aligned, if you will, that she was looking at that piece. That piece was painted in Kerrville. You guys happen to be in the same place at the same time.
Yeah. It was really special.
That kind of gives me chills. What legacy do you hope to leave behind with your artwork? I mean, I know it will live on because of the visible medium, but what legacy do you want to leave behind that people connect with as far as your artwork and your work with conservation?
Well, let me answer the question without conservation, and then I'll answer it with conservation. Okay. I would say the legacy that I want to leave behind is that she was known for loving people through art, and that she used one painting at a time to affect people's lives and connect with people. I think art is a way of connecting with people. I love to be around people. I like to know people's story. I'd like to keep up with those people that buy those paintings or is interested. A lot of times artists spend time in their studio and they don't connect with the world and people. They're just turn inward.
Right.
I would like to be known as a person who loved people and loved to connect her art with people. And was saying that with conservation, I hope that people see my pieces over the years and can say she had a different viewpoint. She saw things differently, and it made me think.
Yeah.
or love that fish a little bit more.
Right. That's put beautifully. Finally, as we wrap up today, what's next for you? I know you got projects ahead of you for the next year. Do you have any upcoming exhibits coming up or anything like that?
I do. Next week is the Art Untamed exhibition at the Bryan Museum.
Okay.
This weekend, I'll be in Dallas. I have an exhibition for Texas women artists at Levin and Davis Gallery. And then I am getting ready I'm finishing up another big, huge commission. And then I've got 7 paintings to paint between now and February, because I'm showing at another 2 museums, the Museum of Western Art, and then I'm also showing at Cowgirl Up in Arizona, and I've got multiple commissions in between that time.
And in your free time, maybe you'll get to go walk down the beach.
I try and make that a point, because that is how I decompress.
That's your grounding, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Folks, we've been joined today by artist Vickie McMillan-Hayes. Check out her website at Vickie Hayes. That's Vickie V Hayes, Hayes I'm sorry, I almost gave out your email address. I guess I could give out your email address if they wanted to find you. It's Vickie McMillan-Hayes. That's VICKIE MCMILLAN Hayes HAYES.com. And of course, jump over to Vickie's social media as well. Vickie, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really learned a lot today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Joe. It was wonderful talking to you.
You bet. It's great to talk to you as well. Folks, we'll see you next week here on Hunting Matters, brought to you by the Houston Safari Club Foundation. Have a great week. Hunting Matters is a Houston Safari Club Foundation production. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For questions or more information, email us at info@wehuntwegive.org.